So we will see SDG structure and order at levels of, like these three levels. You can see people, ecology and spirituality, and these ranges you are seeing, SDG 1 to 10, these are mostly people centric, and SDG 11 to 15, mostly ecology centric, and then we have SDG 16 and 17, that is spiritually like a centric. Let me show you in the overall like that configuration here. So this is what we have, till 10 we have people centric, and 11, 12 up to 15, this is ecology centric from here, right? And these two are spiritually centric, so that is this level, ecology, and here these ones are people centric, right? Yeah, so let me go there. Yeah, here. So we will begin one by one. So in people centric, we have like this combination, ecology centric and this spiritual centric, right? So e.g. 3 boxes for understanding. The SDGs are a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity. This is the overall motto. They were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a way to address some of the world's most pressing challenges collectively, and UN's objective is to bring every stakeholder together and find a common solution. And for SDGs also, like who else than UN could be the best agency to do this job? Then that's why UN, right? Somebody might ask, why only UN? So UN is the agency which has brought maximum number of countries together on one common platform for variety of purposes. Initially we discussed the aims and objectives of UN, under what principles it was formed and how it functions, the different organizations which are part of it, right? So UN is the most suitable entity right now to undertake such a global initiative which requires a mammoth effort. So yeah, these the first a 10, they address basic needs of people. SDG 1 talks about ending poverty, 2 about ending hunger, then good health, well-being. SDG 4 talks about quality education. SDG 5 talks about gender equality, then 6 we have clean water sanitation, 7 for affordable and clean energy, SDG 8 about decent work and economic growth, 9 about industry innovation and infrastructure, SDG 10 about reduced inequalities. And all of these, if you see, they all aim to address the basic needs of people and ensure that all people can lead a dignified life. Okay, so all of these are related to the individuals, to the householders, to the families, to the people, to the masses. So beginning a very crucial, very important one to this talking about bringing everyone together with equal respect and inclusiveness. And so all of this is spectrum of these 10 SDGs. If you see, they talk about bringing a kind of a level of a civilization at global level, where everybody finds a respectable a place. So for example, SDG 1, if you see, ending poverty, is closely linked to SDG 2. Both are quite related to each other, because a family who is living in poverty may find definitely a very hardships in satisfying the hunger, and that's why they are connected. And SDG 3, good health and well-being, and poverty and hunger often lead to poor health and well-being, right? So if these first two are not taken care of course it will result into a not a good health and not a mental or physical well-being wala situation for those the people, right? Similarly, SDG 5, gender equality, is closely linked to SDG 8, if you see. gender equality and decent work and economic growth, because most of such like offenses and like issues happen at like workplaces or in the economic activities, in the financial activities which are taking place across our society. A gender equality in the workplace can lead to increased economic growth. So better this is, better it's going to like contribute to the overall economic growth of the society, right? So this has like a very high potential to contribute to the next SDG. Like interrelationships is what we are discussing over here. So you see there is a direct relation between like SDG 1 to 3, and then there is a direct relation between 8 to like 11, right, 5 to 8, right? So there is so much of like a connection, so much of interrelationship. The improved situation in this one are going to definitely like help like the next one. Examples of ways to achieve these goals. Like to achieve SDG 1, governments can implement policies and programs that provide support for the most vulnerable members of society, such as cash transfers, employment programs, and microfinance initiatives. To achieve SDG 5, governments and organizations can promote gender-sensitive policies and programs such as affirmative action, parental leave, and education programs that focus on gender equality. Right? So what can be done and how is the like a matter of like a like understanding over here by seeing these like interrelationships, like how do they function. Okay, and that gives a kind of like a feedback, like how we can frame our like rules, regulations and policies to aid like these SDGs for like a better results, right? So you see here for the like people coming from the like a lower strata, right, direct cash transfers, like a scheme like you may be seeing in the government of India's policies also in the recent years and decades, like a such like initiatives have come up to transfer like a direct the money, like a benefits, whether it is for availing LPG cylinders, whether it is for availing like a Manrega, like wages like for the people, whether it is for public distribution system PDS, right, for like food grains and cereals and edible oils, sugar, etc. So direct transfer of like a benefits, even for like a girl children who are studying in the schools, like a such schemes like they have like helped like a society in a big way. Employment programs, yes, to like organizing like a such like employment fairs and like a connecting with the like a job seekers through internet, emails and other like like media's like a connectivity. And then microfinance initiatives, because of course they come from like a humble backgrounds. Okay, so microfinance is the like a first step they can take towards taking some economic like activity in their life, and gradually they can increase their presence in the market, right? So this is about taking care of like a one. And then related to gender equality, okay, very simple, very humble, like a sensitization programs, like information programs, campaigns, advertisements, media, okay, can be actually promoted to sensitize like a society and like a people who are generally not aware of like a such things that they also occur. Even if they are doing it, they may be like sometimes not aware, or maybe if they are aware, they may be doing it deliberately, so they should be informed about like it's a crime, right, and they must not actually persuade like a such things, right? So that is going to benefit in bringing like overall like this SDGs aims. The next set, sustainability for the planet, ecological, like a sets from 11 to 15. Sustainable cities, 12th responsible consumerism, production, climate action, life below water, life on land, all aim to promote ecological sustainability and protect the planet for future generations. So interconnections over here, SDG 13 climate action, if you see, is closely linked to SDG 14 life below water and SDG 15 life on land. Okay, what is happening in these two is kind of a direct, like a is giving repercussion to the climate action. And climate change affects the oceans and the land. Similarly, SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, is closely linked to SDG 13, as unsustainable consumption and production practices contribute to climate change. Like we have discussed previously in the module of consumerism, like how in the later like years and decades, the consumerism has actually gone up like a very high, and per capita actually consumption of anything and everything has gone many-fold, and sometimes it is like exceeding like the need of the person. It is going into the like a luxurious like a zone which can be easily avoided, right? So why not to avoid like this unnecessary consumerism, and go for only need based consumption to keep a check on overconsumption of resources and energy and other stuff, which has like a direct relation with the climate change SDG 13, like this climate action, like this SDG. Examples of ways to achieve these goals: for example, to achieve SDG 11, governments and municipalities can implement policies and programs that promote sustainable urban planning, such as green buildings and public transportation. Yeah. To achieve SDG 14, life below water, governments and organizations can implement policies and programs that protect marine biodiversity, such as marine protected areas and sustainable fisheries management. Yeah, so if we talk about the like these ones, so yeah, green buildings, if you see, there is like this mechanism of griha, like lead, and many other like rating tools are there, which are facilitating like sustainable practices in the construction sector, in the building industry sector. Okay, and there is a very like a easier like a format of griha, swagriha, SVA, swagriha, like a format you can check over internet on their website griha.org. Okay, so with this you can like have a one page single page like a checking like a guidelines for carrying out sustainable practices and like things in your own premise. If you are owning a house, if you are going to make a new house, you can go for like adopting this like a framework. Okay, so this will help you like attain a sustainable like a housing practices if you are able to meet like all of those criteria mentioned inside. Okay, for the other regular like a big size buildings, there is like this griha like a star rated programs. Usually they provide like a 5-star rating like this thing opportunity to like the buildings, right? And one can go for this maximum like a 5-star like a rating like a thing. Okay, and they can go for like a sustainable like a practice in the construction industry. You may be aware of large scale constructions or public sector like a construction, public sector like a buildings or premises. They are kind of now mandated to follow griha. This has come from the Ministry of Renewable Energy Resources and the Energy and Resources Institute, New Delhi. And yeah, now this is proving a very efficient tool in practicing like a sustainable urban planning, because at house level, how like a things can improve. Next point talks about public transportation. Like you may be aware of major like mega cities in India. They are going for adopting metro trains, for MRTS, mass rapid like a transit systems. Okay, efficient like a green buses, battery operated buses, okay, or electric buses, or even in the private transportation like a systems also, these electric vehicles, EVs, are now like picking up as a trend, and government has kind of several is bringing a lot of like schemes and promotional like things to promote like a sale of electric like vehicles in the society. And this technology is also slowly maturing, and soon we will have like a huge number of like vehicles adopting this, and they will be using mostly clean energy. So it's going to be finally like like efficient on the ecological like a front. On the next part, we have like this point about life below water. So usually, like we do not notice the kind of degradation which is happening inside the, like water bodies, right? So that is an essential, like a thing to conserve, like a marine ecology, marine biodiversity. So any sort of pollution or any sort of like debris and like a waste, should not go into the any water body, whether it is a small pond, lake, river, or the oceans itself. Okay, because ultimately they are kind of destroying like that balance. Okay, so we have discussed this in detail in the initial modules. Okay, you may refer for the the details, those modules for the more details. But yes, definitely like such policies if we frame can help like reduce like such impacts in the marine environment. The third set we have about spirituality. These SDGs, SDG 16 and 17. They focus on promoting peace, justice, and in strong institutions, and creating partnerships. Cooperation, collaboration. For achieving all of these 17 goals. So interconnections here, if you see, SDG 16 can be achieved by implementing community-based policing, strengthening judicial systems, and promoting transparency and accountability in government institutions. Contribute to the overall achievement of the SDGs by promoting peace and justice. It can help to reduce poverty and improve health by reducing violence and conflicts. So if you see from SDGs 16 and 17 also, the SDG 1, 2, 3, 4 are directly connected, because if a place is having a peaceful and nice and cohesive environment, that will like help people to like go for like like a rightful working opportunities. They can like walk freely, they can like enjoy their life freely. But if there is like a violence and conflict, okay, definitely it is going to take a toll on everyone, whether it is men, women, kids, elderly. They are going to like disturb their regular life. Okay, and disturbing like the working opportunities also, finally like bringing like more miserable like situations at that place. So you can see it's a kind of like a cyclic relation. Like over here we are seeing all of these SDGs, beginning from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 17. They are interrelated to each other. They are helping each other, they contribute to each other. The SDGs are interconnected and interdependent, meaning that progress is one goal. In one goal often contributes to progress in other ones. So we have this direct, like a relationship, direct, like a connection over here, and interdependencies, which talk about, like how they are interrelated to each other, even though they are working independently, but they can contribute positively to the other SDGs also. Significance: understanding these interrelationships and interdependencies is crucial for effectively addressing the challenges facing our world and achieving sustainable development. Well, call to action: if you see, to achieve the SDGs, it is important to take a holistic approach and consider the connections and interdependencies between the goals. So there are several like a graphical like representations also given by like United Nations. You can visit and see like these interactions, okay, online. So here the target of this goal is to eradicate extreme poverty for all people everywhere, currently measured as people living on less than 1.25 like dollars a day, about SDG 1. And on the SDG 2 part, zero hunger, the target of this goal is to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Very much like directly interrelated both ways. It is important to note that these two goals are interconnected, and progress in one area can positively impact progress in the other. For example, ending poverty can help end hunger by providing people with the means to purchase food, and improving access to markets can help farmers to sell their products and improve their livelihoods. Achieving these goals can help ensure that everyone has access to the basic necessities of life and can live with dignity and security. Here we have this relationship between Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, in the context of circular economy. So circular economy is practiced, like how like these SDGs actually play a role over here. So you can see at the top we have this environmental pillar on this side, we have social pillar on this side, and economic pillar on this side, and these SDGs are actually distributed on this side, and C practice ka features are given on this left side. Strong link, direct contribution of C to goals. Okay, so SDG 7, SDG 8 are under economic pillar. Then SDG 12 we have this SDG 12, and in the environmental pillar we have SDG 6 and 15. Right, and in the second point, indirect contribution to C practices to achieve target, e.g. example via SDGs. Okay, so with the social pillar we have SDG 1, 2 and 11 in the middle. Achieving targets will contribute towards enhanced circular economy. So we have in economic, like a pillar in SDG 9, industry, innovation, infrastructure. Then at the cusp we have SDG 10, at the cusp of like economic and social pillar. Then SDG 4 here, quality education, and SDG 14 and 13 here in the environmental side. Then second last we have weak or no link between SDG 5, SDG 3, SDG 16, and finally cooperation opportunities for C, SDG 17 at the bottom. So you can see like how like these like SDGs are placed at this like a matrix. It is very interesting to see like how like they can relate to the like a circular economic like practices also. So this gives a clue that how we can like a plan and reverse engineer like our initiatives, our schemes and implementation plans. Yeah, here we have a relationship between circular economy practices and 169 SDG targets, right? So visual presentation, you can see this is I have sourced from OECD website. You can check this website for latest data. Okay, so targets on this side, and we have goals over here on this side. Okay, and yeah, this legend you can see dark blue direct contribution, light blue indirect contribution, green progress will support circular economy, gray white or like a very weak link, and this purple cooperation opportunity, right? So you can see over here between these targets and these goals, this light blue, light blue, light blue. Okay, so poverty, hunger, health. So in health we have this connection over here of direct contribution from target 9 targets. There are like this one and so on. So you can see like education, gender, water, energy on the like this side, right? So this chart actually details that. So overall setting of SDGs, if you see, okay, it is like something like this. On the well-being front we have SDG 1, 3, 4, 5, 10 and 16. On the infrastructure front we have 7, 8, 6, 12, 9, 2 and 11. The natural environment front we have 13 and 15 and 14, and in an overall this thing outside we have 17, which talks about like overall collaboration and this thing. So with this we have come to the end of this module. I thank you all for joining. I hope you have understood now what is the interrelationships between SDGs and their like targets, and yeah, see you all in the next class. Thank you all.